mistakes are good if we learn from them. If we don't learn from them and repeat the behavior, because we haven't changed our belief system in regards to who we are, and we keep repeating the same patterns. So anyway, I took her through the whole process of, number one, what are your beliefs about you? So we started off with that, and then identifying who she is, setting a new goals and path. And she was completely set free. Her life is amazing now. The dentist, her story had a lot to do with her colour, because she was a woman of colour and felt an inferiority that she was passed down through generations that we had to identify. But that was part of peeling back the onion. She had no idea that had so much influence. So it was a deep-rooted belief that was unconsciously controlling her life. And now she is incredibly free, even went in to do some coaching and healing herself.
Hey, we're back on Pat Mesiti's best-selling author podcast. Donna Catt is here, and Donna has transformed her life through separation, emotional healing, and rebuilding from the ground up. She's a mother of 5, and she helps others heal and thrive after challenging transitions. She has something called the Inside Out approach, which empowers women to rebuild authentically and find clarity and strength. So we're going to talk with Donna about what we need to know to be our best selves, to deal with life changes, challenges, transitions, so much more. So Donna, glad to be speaking with you.
So nice to be speaking with you, Robert. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And so we introduced you a little bit, but what did I leave out? What are you all about, and who do you help?
So predominantly women. I think I wrote my book about, because of course it came from my own experiences of divorce. And I think it's, I think when women are going through that, you go from a family unit until being on your own and trying to navigate your life of juggling the finance, the emotions. And it's a very hard place. And a lot of people and we're all good at it. We just put on a facade, a mask, and we think we've got this all together. But inside, like I wrote in my book, we're decaying and we're dying, but we have to keep this face on because we've got to show that we've got it all together when we don't. And so I'm reaching out to women like that, because you can be yourself. And sometimes you just need someone to hold your hand and stand beside you, not do it for you, but allow them to come to know themselves and who they really are, and just walk alongside and just be that person that encourages them to believe in themselves, really. So that's what I really try and empower women to do.
Very nice. So we need to believe in ourselves. And so when we have achieved becoming our real self, what does that look like? I can imagine someone thinking, I don't even know where to begin. I don't even know what the first step is. So what are we building towards? What's the goal?
Well, that's a very good question, actually. And I think a question I ask a lot of women or people in general, who are you? And people straight away go into their title. Well, I'm a lawyer, I'm a this, I'm a mother of 5. But that's identifying what you do, but not who you are. So it's actually trying to unravel. Is a bit like an onion, Robert. I always say it's like a bit of an onion. You have to peel back the layers to really get back to the unconscious mind of who you are deep down there, because we've got so many layers of hurt and pain through our lives, or who we've been told we are. And it's not actually who we are. And sometimes we're having the battles within ourselves, because who we know deep down we are, but we can't seem to really ever allow that person to emerge because of all the cloudy water and the wrong thinking. So we get back to, who are you? We're talking about your identity and who are you really, and who do you want to evolve into? Yeah.
And so you mentioned here how we need to change our thinking. And so how are people thinking wrong these days? What do they need to fix up?
Well, even that's interesting, because what happens when you start to coach people, they don't even know they're thinking wrong, because it's an unconscious thinking from the unconscious mind. And we think that we are thinking for ourselves, but in actual fact, it's been proven that 99% of the way you think is coming from old belief habits. And those belief habits come from what you've been told, or growing up being criticized or made to believe you're less than you are, or you're dumb, or you're not good enough, or you're not worth anything. So we have to start it's not like reprogramming, but we have to start thinking differently, and we have to be aware of our thought processes, because they really do guide our life. And sometimes we ask the question, how come I keep ending up here? It's because we believe we should. And that's a belief that becomes a thought that becomes an action. So we have to, that's why my whole program is called the Inside Out process, because it's from the inside out we have to work. It's not the outside in. The outside is just a manifestation of the inside work.
I like this a lot. So it's a amazing realization that our beliefs are controlling what we're doing now and the way that we're thinking now and all these present day behaviors. And so I'm curious about your own transformation. Where did you used to be stuck and what have you worked out?
So when I first started this journey, which was 20 years ago after my divorce, like I was in a complete, as a lot of women are, and that's why I wrote about that in my book. You know, we're always trying to portray we've got it together, and people did. I had 5 children; they were academically successful, but I mean, I kept myself alive because I had to keep showing up for them every day. So anyway, I ended up going on a journey of a personal development company, because at the time I was introduced to a network marketing company, because my youngest was only 18 months. My 5th baby was only 18 months when I left my husband. And so I thought, well, here's an opportunity where I can work from home. But then they introduced me to a personal development company, and I realized, well, I'd lost so much of my self-worth. In the whole process of divorce, and, you know, sometimes people can have amicable breakups. I don't know many who do. And, you know, the words that get spoken to us during that moment. So you start losing your self-confidence. You don't think you're at the place that you can do this anymore. And so the way you think about yourself, and if you believe you can, you're right. And if you believe you can't, you're right. So whatever you believe, you're right. And I had to start believing and thinking differently. And it's been a very big journey. And that was the beginning. I had to really look inside and think, well, I don't think I'm this, and I don't think I'm that, and all those things that people would say I am. I couldn't see it for myself. So I had to start rebuilding. I had to start rebuilding my whole life again.
Do you ever think about how when we look at the past timeline, look at all the things that have happened, look at how far you come, it makes sense in hindsight, but then and it seems like when you're going through it in the present moment, you're like stressed out about all these little things, right? You're sweating the small stuff. And so it's like when you're saying about how you did this and you did that and you went through this whole journey, it's like it's kind of calming to look back on, but then I'm sure when you were going through it, you didn't know it would all work out okay, right? And like you were stressed. And so, I mean, tell me about that, because sometimes I could use some reassurance like that when I think like, okay, the me a year from now looking back on today will be like, what were you so stressed about? So, I mean, tell me about your stress back then and how you look at the past differently now.
Well, I think one thing I had to learn was you've got to write down some goals. You've got to start, instead of focusing on the present, because, you know, there's a lot of negativity and there's a lot of people's chatter, and you've got your own critic in yourself, which is always the worst. So you just have to start thinking about, well, how am I going to get myself out of here? And it's one day at a time. When you're in the midst of it, you've got to just think, today I'll deal with today. I can write some goals for a year, 5 years, 10 years, but it's very unrealistic when you're in the midst of emotional trauma and you've got all these other people who are falling apart. So it's about, what am I going to do today that's going to get me to that next step tomorrow? And I think, and then it becomes all about focus and a bit more discipline. And so that's how I crawled out of it. I just started having one day at a time. And then, of course, engaging in mentors that would help me so how do I do this at one stage at a time? How do I just keep my mind and my focus on those things that I'm saying I'm wanting? And that was the beginning. It's a crawl. We don't run out of it. No way. And you certainly cannot see the light at the end of the tunnel. So if you're going to project too far forward, you're just going to get discouraged and lay down and die. So you've just got to think one day at a time, and tomorrow I'll deal, because we have enough problems for the one day with everything. You just write down the goal of where you're heading and just do the one day for the moment. And that's it. That's all you can do at that point. As you start to get into coping with one day, and you have a mentor, then that mentor can come along, of course, or if you decide to have a coach that you want to really help you because change is difficult. Change is not easy because the person you have to look at is you. It doesn't matter what other people have done to you. It's about how are you going to deal with this? How are you going to get yourself out of here? How are you going to become the bigger, the greater person? And how are you going to become the person you're meant to be? And it's not an easy path, and not everyone takes it.
It sounds like a lot of taking ownership and taking responsibility. And so I like a lot of what you're saying here. So we need to be focusing on one day at a time. We need a mentor. We need some of these written goals. And the written goals thing, it always gets a bad rap, doesn't it? Like when people talk about their goals, they don't revisit them, right? They're not steady with the daily habit of doing it, or they kind of like, they're not serious about it, or the goals change, they don't stick to it. And so what peeves you off a lot about people and goals? Do you not like how they don't stick to it, or they set the wrong ones? Like, where are we really going wrong with goal setting that just makes you so dang angry?
Well, I think this is where it comes. I know there's a guy, a gentleman called Deming, and he worked with Toyota after World War II. I mean, this is getting off track a bit, but not really. And he, when he went over to Toyota, because Toyota never had cars that failed, because they had an accountability and responsibility. Like you can have, I just think there's a line in life, and you can have blame, shame, and justification for everything. I couldn't do that today because such and such. Oh, I had to go to the hairdresser. I had to get, this happened. Or you can live above. So one's below the line. That's always making excuses. There's always a reason. We can't do it. I've got shame. I don't feel good enough. All of that stuff. Keep telling yourself, and you'll keep having what you've got. Or you can rise above the line and take responsibility and accountability for your life. So if that's what you want, you're going to achieve great things, because all of us are living only a portion of who we really are. Or you can just keep in that space of, oh, well, I'm just going to keep making excuses, and I'm just going to be who I am, and nothing's going to change. And so people have a choice. And so I suppose even when it comes to coaching, you want to make sure you're working with people who really want to change, because it does take a lot of effort. And you do have
Wonder.
Yeah.
So we need to be adapting or applying this above the line thinking and associating with other above the line thinkers. And you're right, we do have a choice, right? We do have freedom, and we can choose to continue the mediocrity or be better every day moving forward. And so you've told us about what you know, what you've learned, what you teach, and what you've done. I'm curious about the people that you've helped. Do any fun stories come to mind, like case study, success story, just as far as some kind of like transformation, improvement you've applied to other people?
Yes, absolutely. So when I first started writing, did my inside out process, I had professional women. So I had women who were either dentists who, people don't like to always disclose who they are. If they have a position of authority, because people look up to them. Of course, we've always got to be in charge of our lives and have no problems, which is just not true. So they would like someone who was out of their, realm of relationships or acquaintances. But yeah, so I had a school teacher that was attracting constantly wrong men and getting into wrong relationships. And so, we even talk about mistakes. Mistakes are good if we learn from them. If we don't learn from them and repeat the behavior, because we haven't changed our belief system in regards to who we are, and we keep repeating the same patterns. So anyway, I took her through the whole process of, number one, what are your beliefs about you? So we started off with that, and then identifying who she is, setting a new goals and path. And she was completely set free. Her life is amazing now. The dentist, her story had a lot to do with her color, because she was a woman of color and felt an inferiority that she was passed down through generations that we had to identify. But that was part of peeling back the onion. She had no idea that had so much influence. So it was a deep-rooted belief that was unconsciously controlling her life. And now she is incredibly free, even went in to do some coaching and healing herself. And these things were actually achieved in 4 weeks, because it's quantum learning. We just get rid of the fluff. Let's get to the main point, and let's change our lives.
Very cool. Very nice. And what I like in what you said in there was this idea about different failures, that sometimes it's a cliche, right? That you need to keep on failing, but you also need to learn. If you keep making the same failures, you didn't learn. But then you do need to keep making new failures or kind of taking these risks and doing these things and learning from your mistakes. So I like what you said in there, is that mistakes are good if you learn from them. And so you've done all these things, you've helped these people, but since we've only just met and all I really know about you is your book chapter, I don't necessarily know a great question to ask you. So is there a missing, hidden, invisible question in our conversation? Is there something that I should be asking you, I just don't know to ask you?
You could ask me, who are the people that I should be working with?
Okay.
Who are the people that I want to really help in life? And, my heart is, I want to help people, because I don't want people going on the journey like I have, which has taken years and years and years and years of me seeking answers when there really is quick answers, because success leaves clues. And if you follow people who have been before you and you watch what they've done or read about what they've done, you can get out of your situation. You don't have to drag it on for years. But the thing is, who are the people I want to work with? People who are serious about change. Because if you're not willing to change, if you're not willing to confront yourself, if you're not willing to deal with your pain and take responsibility and accountability for your role in what you're doing, then I can't help those people, because we've got to work together. And so I don't want to waste their time, and I don't want them wasting my time. But I want, for those women out there who think, I've had enough, I don't want to walk this path anymore, I don't really know how to do it, and I do want someone who's been there before and is going on with their life, who can help me navigate my life through the process so I can become the greatest version of myself. They're the people I want to work with.
Very nice. And so in the journey of becoming the greatest person that we can and should be, it's an interesting idea that you can be trapped in your own thinking, isn't it? That if you don't have a mentor or this outside advice from someone like you, then your brain plays tricks on yourself and you get stuck where you are. And it doesn't have to be this way, right? You don't have to continue being miserable. And so now I'm curious about a couple of things. So first, we want to mention that you're in this book, The Path to a New You, co-authored with Pat Mesiti, and the chapter is called Healing from the Inside Out. And as far as your 4-week program that you mentioned, if someone says, okay, I'm one of these serious people, right? I want to learn from Donna and change my ways and make new mistakes instead of the old ones, what's the next step here? Can you tell us about your program, this process, what people need to know?
Okay, so, people want to have, number one, we would have a discussion, because we're going to make sure, so they can go onto my website and they can book in a time to have a chat with me. I'm more than happy to have a 30-minute conversation to sort of find out where they are in life and what it is they were trying to achieve, and find a little bit about them and make sure that we can work together. And from that, I would talk to them about the process of the 4-week challenge, which is the beginning of, there's so much more to that. That's just your first stages of really starting to find what you are. But once you've found out who you are, now there's all these other things you have to start to get. There's new habits you have to put in place. And it's good to have a group of people around you. So we even have a Facebook page, and I'd even do weekly calls with those people that come onto my course, just to keep us all accountable, make sure you can talk about questions that you might have and just struggles you're having even more so, and try and create a community of women that can really find their path, do my course, start to identify who they are, allow the healing to come, and then become the person they're meant to be. And they'll look back in a year and they will be a different woman. They will completely be a different woman. I know they will be.
Very inspiring. And so you have this step-by-step process figured out, right? You're saying that you need to figure out who the new you, the real you is, put in some new habits, and don't go it alone. Have the guidance from you and have the community, so that way you feel like you have all these other people who are on your side. And so that website is donnacattcoaching.com. That's cat with 2 E's. So that is DONNACATT coaching.com, and go there, choose this time slot, have this conversation with Donna. And what should they be like thinking about, or what questions should they come to you with? Like, say they have this meeting, this phone call with you, and the conversation starts. What should they be telling you? Should they be saying, here's where I'm stuck, here's my problem? What's kind of the icebreaker?
Well, that's a good question in itself, because so often people come with a question, but then when you ask them questions, having the skill of knowing how to ask questions, which is a whole ball game, you'll sort of pull away the screen, because they might come. You just have to come and be real. When you just come and tell me, when you have a phone call, I'm authentic. You just be authentic. This is a safe place. I just want you to tell me whatever you're struggling with. If it's you're stuck, if you keep going back to the same relationships, if you keep attracting the same men, because all of these are just belief systems about what you believe about you. So it's like Henry Ford said, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you are right. So whether you believe you can have a new life or whether you believe you can't have a new life, you're right. Whether you believe you can change, whether you believe you can't, you're right. So they just need to share with me what their greatest struggle is. And then we need to get to the problem, because so often what you think your struggle is not actually the core reason of your struggle. So just bring whatever you think you're struggling with and we'll take it from there. Because that's why I'm offering a 30-minute discussion, because it would probably take 30 minutes to sort of find a little bit more information. Yeah.
Okay. Very awesome. So 2 brains are better than 1. Your one brain has been trying to fix this problem and it hasn't been working. You need slightly more brain power to do this. So schedule that 30-minute discussion at donnacattcoaching.com, and then come to Donna with your greatest struggle and have this conversation. She'll give you some thoughts, ideas, next steps, strategy, and you'll have a lot of fun and you'll finally make some changes, right? You'll get someone else to help you out to get you that next step, that next level. Donna Marie Catt, co-author with The Path to a New You and donnacattcoaching.com. And as we're wrapping up, winding down here, Donna, it's time to stump you a little bit, put you on the spot, where I ask about a quote or lesson in life that has helped you that you can pass on to others. So what comes to mind for you as far as a quote or lesson?
Well, I think procrastination's my lesson. I think we are always so about we're so fearful of failure that we're going to make another mistake, that we're so paralyzed that we don't do a thing. So I think Theodore Roosevelt talked about, don't be the spectator on the fence. Get into the arena. Get into the arena, play the game. Yes, will you get hurt? Will you get some scars and bruises? Yes. But will you find and become the greatest version of yourself? Yes. And don't be fearful of failure or mistakes, because Buckminster Fuller even said, mistakes are our greatest teacher. And then as long as we learn from them. And so don't be fearful, because fear, which is false evidence appearing real, keeps us in a place that we never can move forward. But within each woman that I will eventually speak with, there is greatness. And don't let the fact that you might fail or make mistakes hold you back, because it's the thing that will just rob your life forever. Let's make a brand new you, have a brand new start, and become the greatest version of yourself. That would be my ending statement.
Very nice. Thank you. So don't let fear hold you back, especially the fear of visiting donnacattcoaching.com. There's always reasons not to do it, right? There's always excuses. So take the 2 minutes, go there right now, donnacattcoaching.com. Before you have time to talk yourself out of it, choose a time slot and talk to Donna very soon. She'd love to see the notification, the appointment pop up, and she'd love to have that chat with you. donnacattcoaching.com. And thank you, Donna, for showing up and bringing your A game and helping us out and entertaining us and educating us. I really appreciate it.
And thank you, Robert. Thank you so much for your time.